everybody, I hope you guys are having a good day today. So in this video, we're going to talk about how you can figure out how much interest you earned in a compound interest situation. So take a deep breath and let's make this math easy. All right, so let's say we wanted to figure out how much interest you'll pay if you borrow $15,000 for 3 years at an interest rate of 7% compounded daily. So if we break down the information we were given, we know that we are initially borrowing $15,000, so that's going to be P. And we're doing it for 3 years, so T equals 3. And the interest rate is 7%, so I would write that as a decimal. And because it's compounded daily, we're going to have K equal 365. Unless you are using the banker's rule, in which case you would write out 360. But this is fine for this problem. And the thing we're looking for is how much interest we'll pay. Now, if you notice, the compound interest formula actually doesn't have an I in it that tells us how much interest we're going to earn. So we're going to have to kind of do this in 2 steps. We'll first figure out how much money we have to end up paying back at the end altogether, and then we'll subtract the amount that we borrowed. So essentially, we're going to start off by finding A, and we'll say A equals 15,000 times 1 plus our 7% interest rate divided up into 365 days. And this is going to be raised to an exponent of 3 times 365. And so I'm going to go ahead and calculate that in advance. And I'm going to say 365 times 3 means that there are 1,095 days in a year. So that part I'm just going to rewrite as a single number. And then I'm going to calculate the stuff inside of the parentheses. And I'm going to do 0.07 divided by 365, which gives me this really tiny decimal because the e to the negative 4 means that I have this decimal place moved over 4 times. And this is the daily interest rate. So I'm going to add that interest rate to 1 because I keep 100% of my investment, but I'm also adding on my daily interest rate. And I'm compounding this interest 1,095 times. So I'm going to raise it to an exponent of 1,095, and that gives me this decimal. This is the decimal you want to make sure that you keep at least 6 decimal places for. So I'm going to do 15,000 times 1.233653. And if you just keep this decimal in your calculator and you keep more decimal places, your answer will be even more precise. So I'll take this decimal and multiply it by 15,000. And that gives me the answer of $18,504.80 if you end up rounding that. Now, this is the total amount that I have to pay back at the end of my loan. However, that is not the question that was asked. They asked, how much interest will you pay? And this is my total amount that I'm going to end up paying back. So my interest is going to equal this number, $18,504.80, and I'm going to subtract the initial amount that I borrowed to figure out how much of this is interest. And that tells me the amount of interest I need to pay is $3,504.80. And this is the amount of interest that I will pay. So why don't you go ahead and try this problem on your own, then restart the video to see how I solved it. Okay, so on this one, we're looking for how much interest you'll earn if you lend someone $4,000 for 5 years at an interest rate of 6% compounded semi-annually. So $4,000 is the initial amount you let them borrow. So that's going to be P. And then the 5 is T because that's the number of years. 6% is a decimal of 0.06, and that's going to be R. And compounding semi-annually means that K equals 2. because semi-annually is compounding it twice per year. So to figure out how much interest I will earn, I first need to figure out how much money total the person is going to pay back to me. So I'm going to calculate A and say A equals 4,000 times 1 plus 0.06 divided into 2 compounding periods. And that is going to be raised to an exponent of 5 times 2. So I'm going to simplify my exponent really quick and just say 5 times 2 equals 10. And then I'm going to start calculating this on my calculator. So I'll do 0.06 divided by 2. And that tells me that each of the compounding periods is going to have a 3% interest because I split up 6% into 2 parts of the year. So I take that number and I add 1 to it because I keep 100% of my initial investment as well. And I'm going to multiply by this number 10 times because there are 10 compounding periods in 5 years if you're compounding twice per year. So I'll raise this to a 10. So I can write that down and say I'm doing 4,000 times 1.343916, and make sure to keep at least 6 decimal places, but you can keep more. And then I'll multiply this by 4,000. And that ends up giving me the number 5,375 and 67 cents for my ending amount that whoever I lent this money to will pay me back. Now that's not the question that was asked because it asked how much interest will I earn. So to find my interest, I'm going to take the amount that I end up with at the end and subtract the initial amount that I let them borrow, because this will tell me how much interest I earned. And when I do that and I subtract 4,000, that ends up giving me $1,375.67. And so that is the amount of interest that I earned. So I hope this video was helpful, and I hope you guys have a good day.